Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I hope everyone is all right. As promised, here I am for our continuation of the watching of the House Judiciary Committee hearing in the United States. We are going to start more or less where we ended, so just that everyone gets into the groove of the thing. And today I will try to be as silent as I can. I will try. Okay, just make a comment when I feel a comment is needed, but let's try and get on with this, okay? So, without any further ado, let's continue.
Lobby group that says it represents small developers.
Yeah. Without objection, if I
And
could.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have one more here.
Okay, go right ahead.
This is an article entitled "The False Choice Between Digital Regulation and Innovation."
Without objection.
Thank you. I yield back.
Quickly, Mr. Reed, is your association fighting Apple?
Pardon me?
Is your association fighting Apple?
Fighting Apple?
Fighting Apple?
We disagree with Apple on multiple issues, as well as for all of our sponsors. Our membership is the small businesses that many of you have met when we've had our fly-in every year.
Okay, great. Seems to me your association uses Apple. That's where your apps go. I don't think you're fighting Apple. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Professor Kay, was the Centers for Disease Control
Again, the comments and the bias. It's constant.
correct in 2020 about the handling of COVID? You know, the chairman laid out all the things that we now know are debunked. Was the Center for Disease Control correct in how they went about their business?
I'm not a scientist, so I can't.
There was nothing debunked in the COVID. What came out was true. The way the virus was transmitted, the effects the virus has on the human body, the effectiveness of vaccines, even the consequences of long-term COVID. That is, that the vaccines did nothing about it, or they only diminished the effects for a little. So, from a scientific point of view, nothing is debunked, except in the heads of some crazy people. It's a virus. It's very hard to see how it works and what are their effects.
Can't speak to that. I mean, I remember the time, like we all did, a time of great fear as
Shutting
to what
down
was happening.
schools, things like that, that have set kids behind. See,
Yes,
because
yes.
it's to Representative McClintock's point that wouldn't this administration want to change some people that you talked about that are in the Department of Health Services? Shouldn't they change them if they were wrong about really the seminal issue
They were not wrong,
that has come before this generation? Shouldn't they change those people?
you dumbass.
Well, that's just not my understanding of why people have been.
Are you
taken out.
familiar, Professor Kay, with the case Berenson versus Biden, which is a censorship case where Alex Berenson, a reporter, was deplatformed on Twitter?
I'm not familiar with that one.
I would suggest that you take a look at that because the Biden administration weaponized themselves
They
against
did not weaponize
Mr. Berenson
anything.
and stifled his speech on Twitter. What college are you a professor at again?
University of California, Irvine.
How many classes are you teaching this semester?
This I teach one class right now.
One class this semester. Mr. Farage, I want to thank you so much for coming to the great state of Wisconsin, of which I represent part of it, including Milwaukee.
It's not
I
a great
hope you
state.
had a good time there.
It's a problem.
I've always had a good time in Milwaukee, no question. Wonderful breweries, friendly people, love it.
Of course.
You're welcome back anytime. I want to thank the ranking member for giving us a tutorial on free speech. Mr. Farage, did you instruct anyone on this panel, including the chairman, to instruct us to stifle
Yes, you have
the
to
ranking
remember
member's
what
speech?
you all
Did you
agreed upon.
No, absolutely not, of course not.
Can you comment on the key issue before the far right that we heard about earlier? What is that key issue in Europe right now that the far right is heavily engaged in?
Well, if you're in the United, I'll speak for you.
Number one, the Americans know nothing about the state of the politics in Europe. They have their narrative and they have their point of view, and that is all. And number two, Mr. Farage, he can talk about the UK all that he wants, He is only shaming the British, but he cannot say a single word about Europe because no one shares information with him. No one cares about his opinion. His opinion is meaningless. He's a meaningless character. He's a second-rate politician in the United Kingdom without any kind of political experience. He loses all the elections that he is in. He supports all the wrong movements. He's a grifter. He's only doing it, this is my opinion, for money and power.
For the United Kingdom, if you're opposed to illegal immigration on a mass scale and the huge cost to the taxpayer and the risk to our communities, then and if you like the flag, our national
Anyone can speak about immigration here, and in the United Kingdom too. People can give their opinion. They just cannot incite others to burn down hotels with migrants, Mr. Farage. And as for the flag, when it's weaponized, it's also a tool of hate. See, British citizens, my British viewers, here you go. This guy is representing you. Say thank you to him sometimes.
flag, then apparently you're far right.
So that illegal immigration issue that was very informative to the election in 2024 in America, the same thing is happening in Europe. Is that accurate?
It's a very similar argument in many, many ways, and therefore the definition of far right, I think, now applies to about 2/3 of the British population.
So I think about someone who's very famous from your country, Ms. J.K. Rowling, who wrote one of the finest series of books, the Harry Potter series, that has ever been in print, who I believe is self-defined as a liberal, as we call them in America. Hasn't she even been threatened for a position she's taken in regards to transgenderism?
Yes, she
It's not the position that she took. She could have whatever position she wants. She's free to have it. She's free to be an idiot. The issue is she started to attack transgender people publicly. And when you take an action publicly, you are subjected to the laws of the state. And if the state, of course, and rightfully, says that attacking transgender people in that way is a felony, a crime, irregularity, whatever you want to call it, I don't know, then of course she's going to be subjected to the consequences of her actions. She was not banned from speaking, she was banned from offending. But I guess that is a definition you don't
very much comes from the liberal wing of politics historically, but she's taken the view
for me to make this comment.
that women should be safe in women's spaces. That means changing rooms, etc. That's all she said. And by the way, that's something that our Supreme Court recently
it's not just
actually
what
did
is-
back up,
is
the fact
said.
that there are fundamental differences. And this is not to launch an attack on anyone that's trans, just to bring some
Yes,
common
it
sense
is.
in. And she has faced cancel culture and abuse on a huge scale.
I would just one
Council,
other comment in regards to the ranking member's opening statement. He was saying that we are stifling speech here in America, including PBS, by defunding them.
Yes, you
I
are.
would suggest that the ranking member look at the news that came out in the past week. It is very good news for PBS, where the Ford Foundation and other foundations have said they're going to put in tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, to make sure that they stay on the air. Protecting the American taxpayer, I think that is a
They are going to put millions of dollars, provided they follow the narrative of your president, my friend, and of your Republican Party. Just like he is withholding money destined to the states that don't go along with this little singing. But I guess that detail is not important.
Committee will come to order without objection.
Sorry about this.
to about 2/3 of the British
So I
population.
think about someone who's very famous from your country, Ms. J.K. Rowling, who wrote one of the finest series of books, the Harry Potter series.
That has ever been in print, who I believe is self-defined as a liberal, as we call them in America. Hasn't she even been threatened for liberal way of politics?
Historically, but she's taken a
That's the
view
only way I like to do it.
that women should be safe in women's spaces. That means changing rooms, etc. That's all she said. And by the way, that's something that our Supreme Court recently actually did back up, the fact that there are fundamental differences. And this is not to launch an attack on anyone that's trans, just to bring some common sense in. And she has faced cancel culture and abuse on a huge scale.
I would just, one other comment in regards to the ranking member's opening statement. He was saying that we are stifling speech here in America, including PBS, by defunding them. I would suggest that the ranking member look at the news that came out in the past week. It is very good news for PBS, where the Ford Foundation and other foundations have said they're going to put in tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, to make sure that they stay on the air. Protecting the American taxpayer, I think that is a great thing that we were able to do with the One Big Beautiful Bill. Final question for Mr. Price. How is the problem going to be fixed, and can America help?
Yes, America can help. The spotlight that has already been shone on the problem by the administration, by the amazing work that this committee is doing here.
Again, polishing each other's knob. Is this a gay poem?
Is hugely welcomed by those of us who support the human right to free speech. We have people who are suffering under prosecutions, unjust prosecutions in Europe right now. I've outlined a lot of them in my written submissions, and it's only because of the support that's coming from this side of the Atlantic
I hope the
that we're able to
prosecutions didn't
see
get to
possibly
us.
a brighter future.
And we will continue those efforts.
Thank you.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman, yield back. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Get up on your chair, you
when I was a
dumb
professor
slob.
of constitutional law, I used to teach my students that freedom of speech is like an apple, and everybody wants to take just one bite out of the apple. Somebody doesn't like left-wing speech. There's a bite. Somebody doesn't like right-wing speech. Somebody doesn't like feminist speech. Somebody doesn't like sexist speech. And everybody just wants to take one bite. But if we let everybody take a bite, at the end of the day, there's no apple left. It's all gone. So if you want to defend free speech and you want a society that's defined by free speech, you've got to accept even the speech you oppose, the speech that you abhor. Now, Professor Kay, we want to try to bring some objectivity to the conversation. I looked up the Reporters Without Borders rankings of every country in the world, according to press freedom. Norway was number 1. North Korea was number 179. It's like a totalitarian dungeon. The UK was number 20. The US was number 57 under Trump, down from 45, where it was before. Russia, which some people here lionize, was at 171, right? So if we were going to undertake a serious study of the state of press freedom all over the world, for example, where should our focus be?
I appreciate that question. I have a very long list that I could highlight.
But just tell us methodologically, quickly, how we should go about doing it if we wanted to undertake this in a serious way.
Absolutely. I mean, I would really use the lens of what do we need as a democracy in order to be well-informed, in order to make choices about our democracy, to make choices about our health. What do we need? We need an open press. We need open government. We need access. We absolutely don't want to see websites scrubbed, as this administration has done. So I would look at it through that lens, through the lens of what we need in order to have a democracy.
Gotcha. Mr. Farage, first of all, to be called charming by you, a man of your evident erudition and dazzling brilliance, is undoubtedly a Lifetime Achievement Award for me. So I will hold it closely. But I wanted to ask you about your commitment to the freedom of speech universally. I think it's a principle that you advocate for everyone, not just for people who are in your party or people you agree with. You said that there should not have been a protest against the Gaza war in the UK. And then when it went ahead, the police refused to shut it down. You called them gutless for not shutting it down. Do you regret having opposed that, given that there was no violence there and there were 700,000 people who wanted to express themselves that day?
I have not opposed people standing up and protesting in favor of people living in Gaza at all. There was one particular day, and it was the Sunday nearest November the 11th, which was when we had big memorial services in London, and I think a march being allowed.
I'm all for free speech, and no one else's free speech should be impeded, except.
To go ahead on that day would have been a mistake. Any other day, fine.
Oh, I see. Who gets to decide that?
What I think actually is something that is embedded in the country, something that is absolutely fundamental to vote.
That's why we have a written constitution. You might take that idea back to the UK with you.
Well,
because the freedom of speech applies 365 days a year here under the First Amendment, not 364, 363, depending on some politicians heckling the government and telling them to shut down free speech.
We have allowed mass pro-Gaza demonstrations in London weekend after weekend.
No thanks to you. All right, let me change.
This was
let me try another one.
particularly sensitive day. That's all.
I got you. It was a sensitive day. And I thought that's what the freedom of speech was about. You have a right to engage in speech that other people consider offensive or insensitive. But in any event, you've made yourself clear, Mr. Farage.
64 days a year if they want.
You've made yourself clear to your constituents in Claxton today. Let me ask you this. You've banned journalists from your political events that you disagree with, haven't you?
No, in fact, I'm the only political
Really?
leader
At your
in Britain.
convention, you didn't ban journalists and revoke their credentials?
You know, I take the average press conference, I take 25 questions.
No, that wasn't my question. Mr. Farage, we're politicians, so we see what you're doing. I'm asking you a direct question.
Well, thank you. I'm very pleased
I'm asking you a direct question, and I hope you can answer it. Why do you ban journalists who oppose your views from coming to your events? Why did you tell your party why did you tell the local government not to do interviews with your local newspaper?
I am the most open person to any journalist.
Undoubtedly, you're the handsomest man in the world. But I'm asking you a different question, okay? That's not my question. My question for you is, and it's legit, why do you ban journalists that you disagree with from your political events, like from your convention?
I don't.
Okay, and you say you've never done that?
I can't think, if I go back the last 25 years, I can't think of banning anybody. But I mean, maybe somebody else did. But look,
I see. It was somebody else who did it.
I do more. I take more questions.
All right.
From journalists.
Do you have
all
any
the other
objections?
leaders added up together.
Okay, Mr. Price, let me ask you. You're an honest man. Do you have any objection to the things you've heard about what Donald Trump is doing in the United States of America, going after law firms, for example, banning them from federal buildings and federal courthouses, stripping them of security clearance, saying they can never get federal jobs or contracts because he doesn't like something one of the lawyers at the firm did? Do you think there's a First Amendment problem with that, as our courts have found?
There's a lot of information you've put into that. It's good to talk to you again after London.
Yeah, have you followed that at all?
I haven't. I have to be perfectly honest with you now.
Okay, do you have any problems with anything Donald Trump has done with respect to free speech and freedom of expression in America? Or you just haven't followed it?
I'm not as well. There are plenty of people here better informed on American matters than I.
And we are. So thank you very much. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for your indulgence. I yield back.
I think the gentleman, my guess is Mr. Farage takes
Here comes the dumbass.
questions probably as often as President Trump does. These are two guys who aren't afraid to talk to the press and take any question that comes to them. We've seen that displayed time and time again. The gentleman from California, Mr. Kiley, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it was an honor to be with you and the ranking member as we had the chance to see firsthand what's going on in the EU and in the UK. Maybe this Raskin Farage show could become a recurring event. It's gotten very interesting on both occasions. But I'd actually like to direct my questions to you, Mr. Price, at first. It's good to see you again. I think that those of us on the trip were really alarmed by the ways in which the tide is turning against free speech in the UK and the EU. And I think that there actually was quite a bit of bipartisan agreement among the members of our delegation on a number of these issues. So I was hoping you could give us a little context of what you
I'm not
think
even going to comment.
explains this.
Just-
And I think
let's
that we
just listen.
understand that not every country needs to have has a First Amendment or needs to have the exact same standards or the exact same exceptions or the exact same ways that the law is applied. But we've always, I think, felt it important that we have an alliance with our European allies around the issues of freedom that stands in
No.
contrast to authoritarian regimes around
We
the
have
world, like
an
in
alliance.
Russia, like in China, places where they don't have free speech. And so, to the extent that these values are fraying among our allies, then
You are not
it really
honoring your
harms our
your
ability to
alliance,
stand up for the values of
alliance,
freedom
and
around
you
the
are
world. So, what do you
betrayal.
think is going on? How can we sort of strengthen our alliance with our European allies around the issue of freedom of speech?
Thank you, sir. Well, what we've seen, sadly, over many decades, and
Let me just interrupt him and answer his question. The USA is the one that's diverting from the values of free speech. So the solution for Europe is to simply cut off the United States until it has a decent president, as also at least someone that is able to comply with the international agreements that the USA has to with other countries. Okay? Europe, the EU, Canada, even the UK, if they are able to survive that thing that you saw speaking a bit now with the frog face, if they can survive that, we have to cut the United States off because this is meaningless. First of all, okay, no one in Europe cares about this. Yeah, no one is going to change laws here to this. And what this is going to cause is more people that saw this will continue in their endeavor of banning all American companies and all American products from their lives. This is what this is going to do.
and it's accelerating, has been a consistent use of overbroad, vague laws to crack down
The laws
on
are not
speech
vague,
that's
they
regarded
are
as
correct
provocative or unorthodox.
and clear.
I can give you, and I have given examples of the clients that I'm involved in representing, where they've been simply speaking about their faith publicly or where they've been offering to talk to people. So things have reached a crisis point, though, and this is why I think it's important that Vice President Vance and the administration have intervened.
No one cares about your faith. This is the bottom line. This is what is so troubling to you. That no one cares about your little feelings. We don't. No normal person worries about your little feelings. I don't care. I know I'm part German and a bit cold, but for God's sakes, I don't care. I don't care that you feel offended when you pray in public and no one gives a crap. We only care when you go out into abortion clinics and harass the persons that are there. And that is a crime. Grow up.
And one thing I would say, without divulging any contents of conversations, but Representative Raskin and I had quite a good conversation about just how bad things had become in Europe. And I agree with you. I think there is a bipartisan realization, certainly on this committee, and I commend the work that it's doing, about the nature of the problem in Europe. With the DSA, though, we find
None of
the
your
European
fucking
Union
business.
stepping into speech, regulating it, and bringing that restrictive model global. And this is where I think really the work that's been happening here is crucial, because we can't allow that to happen, because we're going back to COVID-style censorship all over again.
Thank you. And of course, it's doubly concerning when this actually implicates the free speech rights of Americans. But I would hope that
I
moving
don't
forward,
give
we
a
can
fuck
try
about
to
America.
work with our counterparts
In Europe, it's
in
our
Europe
law.
to try to get back to having these shared values around freedom of speech, and we don't continue to see a divergence. Mr. Reed, I also wanted to ask you about the DMA, because I know you represent smaller app developers, but we also spoke with folks who represent Apple and Facebook and others, and it's a matter of public record the way that these companies are now sort of uniquely targeted under this law and the similar law in the UK. And honestly, it caused me to sort of see some of the ongoing negotiations around tariffs and other issues through a somewhat different lens. Because the way that American companies are being targeted with the DMA really is a tax or imposes or is a direct transfer of wealth from our country overseas. And these are some of the sort of non-tariff barriers that American countries are now facing. So could you give me your perspective on that and the DMA more broadly?
Right. It's ironic that, as you say, it's a non-tariff trade
Well, they
barrier,
are
but
talking,
the
I
ultimate
wish
biggest
to continue
loser
now.
is usually the smaller and medium-sized companies.
Because the conversation is
Earlier, we heard a
moving.
member of this committee just talk about bills here in the United States. The irony of those who supported those bills were also billionaire companies. We joked about the fact that it was the trillionaires versus the billionaires who went to war. And the problem when that happens, if any of you run a small business, is the small guy gets crushed. And what's happening with the DMA in Europe is their desire to put pressure on the U.S. companies means that there are fewer services, fewer features, and less trust are available for the smaller businesses to take advantage of.
I'm
And
learning
that's how
a
we
new
get
language.
crushed, and that ends up being as you say, a non-tariff trade barrier because it puts the very companies that could compete with these giants at a disadvantage when they have to meet those new tests.
Thank you. And I think that this is going to be an important issue for us to remain focused on as to how we can alleviate these barriers that our companies are facing that honestly are hindering innovation in Europe as well. I yield back. Yield back to the chair.
Real clear on the most recent situation. Maybe I'll direct this, Mr. Farage. So Graham Lineman is an Irish citizen who posted something while in America and then gets arrested when he goes to the UK for some, quote, offensive post online. Is that accurate?
That is absolutely right.
Yeah, that's where this is all headed. That's exactly where this is all headed. The gentleman from California who accompanied us on the trip when we were so glad that he did is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I also appreciate being invited on a trip and spending time with you and our ranking member, Raskin. Very informative. Interesting looking at the DMA, winners and losers, unintended consequences. According to a recent report commissioned by the EC, the future of European competitiveness, only 4 of the 50 top tech firms in the world are actually in Europe. As a Californian, I found it very interesting that a lot of the European entrepreneurs move out of Europe, move to the US, specifically California, to grow,
Are you
and then
done with
possibly
your line?
move back to Europe.
Continue.
I'm a Californian, so the health and welfare, the interests of California firms is interest to me. And seeing hundreds of millions of dollars in fines under DMA's nebulous violations being levied against California firms, money that could be best spent on R&D in many ways, is very bothersome. I care about encouraging California entrepreneurs. We have the most successful entrepreneurs in the world today, yet they are essentially being targeted by the EU and other foreign regulations. California, this money is better, again, invested in creating jobs in California. And by the way, a lot of these firms that are actually being fined actually pay taxes in California. Today, California recently passed up Japan to become the 4th largest economy in the world. California is the number 1 producer of ag products in the world, number 1 in terms of venture capital in the US, number 1 manufacturer. We pay $100 billion more to the US federal government than we get back on an annual basis. So despite all the challenges we have in California, we actually know how to do it right. And surprisingly, our workforce, visa holders from other countries, workforce, undocumented workers from around the world that actually harvest their crops. Manufacturing, we are the top manufacturer in the United States in terms of state. A lot of undocumented workers there. So California, we actually can manage pretty well. The best managed state, I would argue, in the union. So, Mr. Reed, I'm going to ask you, given your association with these small firms, how is the DMA affecting our California firms as they try to grow in the European Union?
The ex-ante regulation creates barriers.
Your products are not sold in Europe because they are inferior and because you put shit on your food that kills people and makes people sick. Look at me. See me? See me? I'm a European. I don't buy your shit. I don't buy American products. I will not buy American products. I have absolutely no trust in American products, not even the American products that are made here, right here, in my country, under our laws and under our supervision, because I cannot trust American companies. I have not consumed one single American product for God knows how long. Before this entire Trumpination of your country, I would drink a Coca-Cola every on and off. One made here or in Spain. But maybe I don't know, accounting, one every 6 months or one every 3 months. Right now, zero. If I see anything related to USA in the label of a product, I don't buy it. If I see a piece of hardware that has America written in it, or made in America, or whatever, I don't buy it. I don't buy American cars. They are inferior. If they are gasoline cars, they are gasoline guzzlers. If they are diesel, they are diesel guzzlers. We don't want those products. The reason why your products do not sell in Europe, it's because your products are not good enough. You want to eat your hormone beef, your chlorinated chicken, okay, your chemical-filled vegetables, then by God, eat them away. As you can see, it's been doing wonders to your IQ level.
What do you mean by ex ante? Explain that to me.
In simple terms, it means that the European Union is determining the behavior before the bad act has happened. It's before it happens.
So they're fining before the actual behavior?
They're not just even fining, they're setting the rules by which you could be fined. The best way to think about it is they're saying, Mother, may I? If you remember the game Mother, may I?
That is called good governance. When the state tells you exactly what are the rules decided by the democratic elected institutions. And that makes things like food standards, on scientific principles, on medical advice that is written, that you can dispute in court, that you can ask for someone to explain it to you. You can do it all. And if that is not having free speech, I don't know what the hell it is.
They are asking companies to go forth and say, can we do this? And then the commission says, well, yes, you can, or yes, you cannot. We traditionally in the United States have taken an ex post, meaning, did you deceive someone? Did you lie? Did you cheat? Did you steal? And then you're punished. Unfortunately, the EU is taking a Mother May I approach rather than a punishment approach. And that harms California businesses because it makes it a lot harder.
If you have listened to your mother's
Mr. Price, you're from Irvine.
Sorry.
Yes? Mr. Price?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about
Irvine.
California firms and how the DMA. Okay. Well, Irvine, by the way, a lot of biotech, high tech.
I think you might be referring to Professor K.
Mr. K. I'm sorry, go ahead. Mr. K, Irvine.
Yes. Yes, I teach at the University of California at Irvine. I actually wanted to respond to two of the points that you're making, in part because...
You got about 20 seconds. Go.
Thank you. In part because this hearing is entitled as one dealing with censorship, and we're spending quite a bit of time talking about defending companies. And two things I just wanted to mention. One is the DMA doesn't specifically discriminate against American companies any more than it does against California companies. And the second is that I think it's important to think about the other
Mr. Price, what would you say to that?
In relation to discrimination,
Yes.
they've designed the rules in such a way that they almost perfectly encompass American companies, particularly under the DSA. So if you're setting the rules and they just happen to throw a net over a particular target group, I think you can legitimately infer from that 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 was the intention.
American companies only need to worry about this if they are working inside of the European market or of other countries that have adopted the European system. You can continue to do whatever shit you want to do in your tiny little countries.
The intention was discrimination?
The intention is to throw a dragnet over U.S. companies and turn them into a...
The intention is discrimination against American firms.
That's precisely what the outcome is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And before I yield, I also have some articles I'd like to submit for the record, if I may.
Yep.
Letter by Chairman Fitzgerald and myself to President Trump, dated April 9th of this year, outlining our concerns with the Digital Marketing Act. Second, report by European Commission, dated September 24th, the future of European competitiveness, which is failing to translate into innovation. Third article, statement by the Chamber of Progress, dated February 10th, how Digital Markets Act has become...
That is exactly why we are also subsidizing our own weapon production, so that we are not depending upon you Americans. Because look at the quality of allies you are. You are selling weapons, you continue to sell us the weapons, and now you are blackmailing us. Great friends, no?
Europeans' digital curtain. Number 4, article by the Information and Technology Foundation dated June 30th, 6 ways the DMA is backfiring on Europe. 5th, article Washington Examiner, July 28th, EU regulations impose heavy costs on U.S. companies. Finally, article in the Journal, Wall Street, the tech industry is huge and Europe's share of it is very small. Thank you, sir.
Without objection. Thank you. Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Texas, recognized.
Thank the chairman. I thank him for holding this hearing. I thank the witnesses. Mr. Price, you referenced Päivi Räsänen earlier, correct?
Yes, sir.
And can you just real quick, in like 30 seconds, give the quick summary of what the facts are behind that issue with respect to why she is facing prosecution despite having served in Parliament and I believe as a minister in the government?
That's correct, sir. Over 5 years ago, she posted a tweet with a verse from Scripture, and in that tweet, she objected to her church, the Finnish Evangelical Lutheran Church, using church funds to fund the Helsinki Pride Parade. And for that, then, criminal proceedings were launched against her.
And she's been dealing with that for 4 to 5 years, correct?
That's correct, sir. Her case is before the Supreme Court at the end of October.
Facing jail time.
Facing significant fines.
And for having expressed her faith with respect to issues involving marriage in the context of a Bible verse, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And so now we've got, as the chairman eliminated a moment ago, we've got this issue involving Graham Lanahan, who here in the United States made a joke and then is arrested in the UK, correct?
Yes, he's being arrested, or he was arrested for comments that he posted while here.
And that's correct, Mr. Farage, you agree?
It is.
And that joke had something to do with, as I've looked it up, trans-identified males and female-only space, and he made some joke about that issue.
That's exactly right.
And so we've got now someone being arrested for alleged transphobia or some sort of hate comment involving a joke on another continent. Now, in the meantime, we've had Mr. Farage talking about Lucy Connolly, right? And her fate, which I understand she got sentenced something like 31 or 32 months for having put out a social media post. Now, that social media post has been alleged to have tied to some incitement. She deleted the post, but the post was in response to violence, right? And on the heels of a whole lot of issues involving crime in the UK. Whatever the connection is, right, we're saying there is crime in the UK. Now, here's my question, Mr. Farage. How do you feel from the standpoint of borders in the UK? Are open borders healthy for either the United States or the UK?
No, they're disastrous.
And are they having a deleterious effect with respect to crime and culture in the UK?
Yes, they are. It's been a debate that's been very difficult to have without being screamed at, but we are now having that debate.
And so now we've got a moment here where we've got someone being put in jail for putting out something on social media that is
I gotta
allegedly
control myself.
transphobic. And so my question is, I wonder what's going to win out. What's going to win out when the questions of Islamophobia and the tenets of Islam mash up against transphobia? What will the determiners of truth in the UK government decide? What will those who make decisions about what we can say and what we cannot say do when these worlds collide? Would you have any comment on that, Mr. Farage?
In the Lucy Connolly case, it's very interesting that this horrific murder of 3 young girls happened. The country was in very deep shock, very deep shock. The government deliberately withheld the truth about who the perpetrator was. And it led to a sea of speculation.
The greatest shock the British people had was when you, Mr. Farage, came publicly, and there's a video. There is a video showing that. Okay? So no one has to believe little old me. They can just watch the video. But not just you. And a lot of people, all of you, came out and stirred hate of misguided people. And you created riots and civil strife in the United Kingdom. You, Mr. Farage, you and your friends, instead of trying to understand what happened, and it was a Welsh boy, but I suppose he was the son of foreign parents, right? So okay, yeah. Then he's just another big old bad brown face, but he wasn't Muslim. No, he wasn't Muslim. He was Christian, or at least he was raised Christian, because what he did nothing of a Christian should do, at least in my opinion. And of those 3 wonderful little girls that you keep putting in your altar of martyrdom, one of them was Portuguese. You want to know how the Portuguese people around here paid tribute to that child that was there, that was killed? They had a ceremony in the church. They prayed. They tried to comfort the family. And then when it was over, they released some balloons to remember a child that was murdered. They focused on the child. They didn't focus on the murderer. And the murderer, all they wanted was make justice, punish the person that did this. That was all they said. They didn't say go on and burn mosques, go on and attack your neighbors that are different from you. They didn't say absolutely nothing. And this shows the way people here see things. And the issue here is not immigration. Immigration has to be controlled. Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Reason why we have laws to do it. We don't blame the migrants, we blame the bloody government that isn't doing its function. And the government wasn't doing its function when you were in the seat of power. Sorry, you were never in the seat of power, but you was nudging him on with the Brexit campaign. And when you keep, or whatever the previous incarnation of your parties were, and the Tories. And then you have Starmer that is trying to please the idiots that vote for you, and trying to please his own party, and trying to please the people that want to, like they say, rejoin the EU. And he's not achieving absolutely nothing because, in my opinion, well, I don't think he's very competent, or at least he doesn't have the correct profile to do it. Because the first thing that you would need in the United Kingdom, and this is my honest and very, very, very simple opinion, is to have unbiased media and have things like, for example, your GB News or whatever it is, to not be allowed to be classified as a news channel, and that every person that went into that channel and started spewing your hate, masked as freedom of speech, to be jailed, to be prosecuted. Because this is how you treat people like you, Mr. Farage. You apply the law. The United Kingdom reminds me a lot of the Portuguese Republic in its latter years, when it started to decline. It was all corruption and confusion and incompetence. And then pop comes an authoritarian regime with a magic solution. In 1926, we were under the heel of that bastard until 1974. And after this, Soviet rule all over the country, nationalizing things, burning things, expelling people, stealing, looting, almost a civil war. And then our European allies, and also, for example, President Carter in the United States, they came, they helped us create a modern democracy. We still have a couple of issues. We still have a couple of hang-ups. We still have problems, like any other bloody country, like the countries that, for example, were under the Soviet rule. We have similar issues. But yet, we are trying. And then, people like you, and most of the people that are in that room with you, they come out and they try to preach us what they don't know about, and they try to define us concepts that they know nothing about, like freedom of speech. But please, Mr. Farage, continue to make the United Kingdom a mockery of the world. Please, continue.
Speculation. It turned out ultimately that the man that committed those murders was in fact UK born, had not come over on a boat, as was being said on social media. Just goes to show that actually, however bad the news is, people deserve to know the truth about a situation. It stops that frenzy of speculation. Who's going to win these great battles? I think that there is a growing, silent majority, certainly in my country, who object to the two-tier.
I heard that one of the silent majority. You know who was saying it? Adolf Hitler, before he rose to power. The silent majority.
A concept that, you know, Lucy Connolly gets 31. And by the way, there were mitigating circumstances for what she said with her own personal situation, but she's arrested very quickly. She's threatened that if she pleads not guilty, she'll go straight to prison and be on remand until the trial, and goodness knows when. We're not defending what she said, but she recognized her error, you know, in a moment of anger and passion and upset, and she withdrew it 3.5 hours later. I think that the answer, Mr. Roy, is that the silent majority will win. The silent majority will win. Good will triumph over bad, and common sense will be returned. It won't happen quickly. It won't happen quickly. As I've already outlined, there is coming down the tracks an Islamophobia law, which would divide speech even more widely than it is now. But in the end, common sense, decency will win.
Is Sharia law consistent with Western values?
No.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Farage, thanks for being here, coming across the pond. I'm sorry to hear you're leaving the hearing early.
Well, it's not a question of leaving the hearing early, but I do have other things to do. Yes.
Oh, where are you going?
I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. Where are you going?
It's not lunch, I promise you.
It's not lunch. You're not going to have lunch.
I don't think so, no.
No lunch.
Sad, isn't
You're
it?
meeting with the president?
I can't remember what the schedule is. It's possible.
You can't remember if you're meeting with the president.
I'm being very polite, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing this afternoon, but I can assure you that...
But there's the free speech hearing. You're not going to tell me what you're doing this afternoon?
Free speech is one thing, discretion's quite another, too.
Okay. All right, so you're leaving to have lunch with the president. So, Mr. Farage, I have a question. Have you heard about the Epstein thing that's going on here?
I have.
You have? What do you think about it?
I'm not going to give comment on anything happening in America. I'm here as a witness.
Perfect.
I'm here as a witness. I'm here as a witness for what is happening in the United Kingdom and in the European
Perfect.
continent.
Let me just go through it. So it's been 9 months, right, since we've been meeting in these hearings. We've not had Pam Bondi here, even though we have jurisdiction over the Department of Justice, not Dan Bondi.
The gentleman yield?
Nat Cash Patel. I will 100%. We'll go back and forth. Let me just do my thing.
Okay.
And
Well, I'm just going to correct. Cash Patel's coming in I'll give you an extra 10 seconds. Cash Patel, the director of FBI, is coming in 2 weeks, and the Attorney General's coming in 4 weeks.
Fantastic.
Not even
But
going
still-
to comment.
But still, we're not doing that this week, the week we're having votes on the Epstein thing. So, Pam Bondi gives the influencers, these Republican influencers, a binder. It says Part 1 of the Epstein files. No one of you saw it. It was quite spectacular. The Attorney General then says the Epstein list is on her desk. Then DOJ issues a memo, says there is no list. Then, you have any questions about any of that? We've had no hearings on any of that at all. That, the list is on my desk, then there is no list. Then we gave binders to Republican influencers. This committee's had no questions on any of how that transpired at the Department of Justice. Then hold on.
Well, it sounds like you're going to in the next few weeks. So that's a jolly good thing.
Mr. Farage, we can talk soon, but not yet. Okay.
Right.
So then the president comes out and says the whole thing's a hoax. He blasts his own base. He blames Barack Obama. I mean, he hasn't been president for a very long time. Republicans then in committee vote against the release in the Rules Committee. Then Republicans refuse to go back in the Rules Committee because they're getting blasted for their vote, getting crushed by their own base. Congress leaves a day early. Then the administration sends the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Maxwell in jail. He happens to be Trump's former personal attorney. She says something favorable about the president. Miraculously, she gets transferred to a minimum security prison. The president starts talking about how he has the right to pardon her if he wanted to. The leaks to the Wall Street Journal then stop. We come back from break. We have the Massey petition. Comer does a document dump where 97% of these documents are already public. How long has he had those documents? Why hasn't he released them for the last 6 weeks? Does it the day of the vote. Then Republicans drop a non-binding resolution trying to kill the Massey discharge petition. The White House said passing the Massey discharge petition is a hostile act. Wow. That's a lot of distraction and deflection and misinformation. Wait, passing a discharge petition to release the Epstein files, the White House said would be a hostile act. Nope, we have no questions about that. But why? Why is it that we're spending so much political capital to keep this list from coming out? You think the list should come out? You think we should know the people who dealt with Mr. Epstein, Mr. Farage?
I thought I was coming to a hearing on free speech, not process.
Oh, well, listen, but here's the good...
It sounds like you're discussing process.
No. Do you think the list should come out?
I have no opinion on it. I don't know at all.
So we have victims that were sexually abused by potentially people in power, and we don't know who's on the list.
I'm very happy.
Hold on, Mr. Fresh. We don't know who's on the list. We don't know who's on the list. We don't know if the president is or is not. I'm not going to say he is or isn't. I'm just going to say these are weird behaviors. We don't know that there aren't other people in Congress that are on the list. Right? We have no idea. Do you think the list should come out? You think people in power should be held to account for these victims who have been sexually abused and assaulted? You think the list should come out?
I think that I'm very happy to come to a different hearing where you talk about legal process.
Okay.
But today,
Will the gentleman yield for a quick question? Were you aware that he has already called for the Epstein file to be released? It has been reported that he has called for it to be released.
Oh, yeah, right here, just to refresh your memory.
Yeah, but
I happen to have this.
But that's not
How
what
random.
But that is not. Look, you could ask me if you like about
Do you agree
social
with
security
yourself?
policy.
Do you agree with yourself?
We are here to discuss free speech.
Hold on, it's awkward for your lunch after this? Do you agree with yourself?
No, it isn't at all.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious. This committee has jurisdiction over the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Why have we allowed Comer to cover this up for the last couple of months?
As I said,
why is this committee not
I
taking
said 6 weeks ago that we will have the FBI director in, we will have the Attorney General in, and we are doing that in 2 weeks. You can go through that whole list. That whole list, you can do whatever you want to do. I got lots of questions for the FBI director, including
Still waiting for it.
Including the whistleblower who came forward and told him that Adam Schiff leaked classified information. I want to ask him about that as well as the issues you all want to ask him about. That's why he's coming, so we can ask all these questions and follow the process, as Mr. Farage just talked about.
Mr.
The
Chairman,
gentleman from Virginia.
Unanimous consent.
Unanimous consent.
I'd like to enter the political article into the record that Mr. Farage said the Epstein file should be released.
Without objection. The gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
I thank the chairman. I want to talk about censorship tools that are being used by Europe and protectionist measures that have major consequences for U.S. companies and free expression worldwide. I'm glad to have you all here to get your views on those issues. Mr. Farage, you've called the Online Safety Act a borderline dystopian censorship regime. And many agree, including myself, that the law badly overreaches. One of the most serious criticisms is that it empowers Ofcom to undermine encryption and open the door to not just government surveillance of posts online and public statements.
Again, I'm learning something else. That is why I am also having my headphones on, because I'm listening to something else, okay?
But private messages, raising alarms, not just in the UK, but beyond UK borders. Vice President J.D. Vance has warned this could threaten Americans' privacy as well. Do you recognize that this is not just a domestic issue for the UK, but a global one? And if you become Prime Minister, what assurances would you give allies that the UK will not undermine end-to-end privacy standards?
And by the way, did you forget that it was discovered that the USA government was accessing the personal data of European citizens of the EU and of the UK and other countries, but I will talk about the EU. I don't want you to access my data. I don't want you to know absolutely nothing about my life. The only entity that needs to know if I'm a good boy, and if I behave myself properly, is my government. Or maybe my mom. You see, I'm South European, okay? Mama, you know? Not some American technocrat.
You have my absolute word that a reform government will repeal the Online Safety Act and will go right back, actually, to legislation back to 2010, under which these whole concepts of hate speech have begun to be interpreted in UK law, and we will do that. Do we want to protect kids? This is the big question. Yes, we do. We need to find means, we need to find ways. I half suggested earlier that hardware could be part of the solution, but yes, we want to protect, to encourage
it's the 80s and the 90s all over again.
You've said Reform UK has access to some of the best tech minds to design alternatives. How do you propose to balance protecting children without scanning private messages or weakening encryption?
I think, well, as I said, look, I don't have all the answers to this, but the British Prime Minister says he has got the answers to this. Well, if it's about protecting kids, why does the legislation give Ofcom the most extraordinary and frankly arbitrary powers?
Have you seen, as this event has been causing problems in the United Kingdom? I don't sympathize with Mr. Starmer. I think he's very undecisive. I think he's very coward when he has to take some decisions. But nonetheless, he's a million times better than this person sitting here. Okay? And he's much better, of course, than the Tories. Do you see what these people do? Do you see what this man went to do to the USA? Money, my friend. But this, of course, is just my personal opinion. Okay, I have no proofs.
And why is there the establishment under the Act of an elite police force unit to monitor what is said online? So, it's far better to be honest and say we don't have the perfect solutions than to pretend we have with legislation that is a sledgehammer that misses the nut.
Thank you. Mr. Price, the EU's Digital Services Act imposes liability for so-called systemic risks. How does that chill religious or political speech, and do you see conflicts with First Amendment principles?
That's correct. The systemic risk provision, I think, constitutes a form of content moderation that they're misrepresenting, frankly, in their letters to you. Where the systemic risk provisions talk about, in fact, damage to what they call civil discourse, And we've already seen prosecutions, including clients of ours, who have been prosecuted for, among other things, praying silently, discussing the differences between Christianity and Islam, tweeting a verse from the Bible. So if these constitute systemic risks to civil discourse, the EU has the power in terms of this content moderation provision to step in.
Damage to civil discourse seems a little broad, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Mr. Reid, the EU's Digital Markets Act and the UK's Digital Markets Competition and Consumers Act are sold as pro-competition, but don't compliance costs just burden small app developers?
Absolutely. The problem is that it's interesting, as you talked about, how do you do a better job? You asked, how do we do a better job to protect children? One of the ways we do it is by empowering parents to be good parents. And one of our deepest concerns is by removing some of the capability of the platforms to curate and provide information to parents about what applications do through a clear, forward interface that they see every day that's useful. It makes it harder to parent, harder to know what apps are on your kid's device, and harder for you to control it. So we absolutely see that not only are there problems with it on encryption, which we agree with you 100%, but we also think it weakens our ability as parents to be in charge of the devices our children are using.
Yeah, these rules don't help parent consumers, if you will. They just shift power from platforms and from parents and from consumers to regulators, correct?
Correct.
Do these regimes create a level playing field for U.S. firms, or do they advantage European competitors at the expense of American innovation?
Well, the
American innovation. Okay. So Werner von Braun, he was born and bred in America. And all the European engineers, all of the Asian engineers, all of the Canadian engineers, all of the great minds that, for example, you pay for to have coming to your great state of California and make great innovations that are then outsourced. Most of the production factor is outsourced to other countries, and that is American innovation. So American innovation is basically like the British National Museum. Steal and say it's ours.
Original thought behind the DMA was that Europe had not been successful in creating their own industry, as was alluded to by several other members of Congress, and Congressman Correa noted it as well. Europe's economic potential has slowed while the United States has grown incredibly. We've gone from...
Have you seen the latest indicators? Have you? Oh, I'm sorry. No. I should not talk about that, okay, because it's against your little narrative.
Almost equal in 2008 to a 50% increase in the size of the U.S. economy between 2008 and now. And we think a lot of it comes from the small technology companies that have been creating amazing devices, amazing products, amazing applications that you're all using. And we are disappointed that there aren't the same opportunities for the U.S., for our EU members.
Thanks. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, for years, political extremists, including some of our colleagues, have claimed without evidence that so-called conservative speech is being canceled. But the speech at issue is not conservative political speech. It's hate speech, including incitement to violence, threats and harassments of particular people or groups, and lies about almost everything from election results to healthcare. And there's nothing conservative about any of that. So today's hearing appears to be one more attempt by these extremists to claim victimhood, promote falsehoods, and normalize radical ideas, all while attacking others. Today, our Republican colleagues claim that our European allies pose the biggest threat to Americans' free speech today. Seriously? There's an all-out assault on the First Amendment in the U.S., but it's coming from inside the House, the White House, the executive branch of our own country. For the past 8 months, our Republican colleagues have done nothing but cheer on the administration's un-American attacks. Because the truth is, they're all for free speech, but only if it's the speech they agree with. I'd say if you really want to talk about censorship, let's talk about how this administration, with the support of our MAGA colleagues, has tried to strangle speech and ideas that it doesn't agree with, when that speech comes from the free press, college campuses, law firms and judges, library books, the Smithsonian museums, responsible investors, scientists, dedicated employees with deep expertise, and more. We've seen this White House use executive orders, threats and intimidation, illegal withholding of federal funding, raids by masked and armed police, and even sending military troops onto American streets to shut down opposition to this administration's policies. Professor Kay, you are an internationally recognized expert on freedom of expression and have studied the growing assault on free speech and civil society around the world. In your testimony, you said that the situation in the U.S. raises serious alarms. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, well, thank you for the question. Everything that you just mentioned is alarming. The assaults on the press, on universities, on public protest, all of those things, I think, are the kinds of things that historically the United States has fought against. So all of those things are very problematic. And I think that one way to think about them, perhaps, and it's useful in this committee, actually, in the context of this committee, is to think of those things that the Trump administration is doing as a contrast to something like the DSA, right? So the DSA sees a problem, which I think is a problem shared or perceived on both sides of the aisle, which is massive platform power and also the kinds of content that you alluded to. But the DSA doesn't create any new rules that allow either the European Commission or countries to censor. It is a transparency regime. It's a risk assessment regime. It's actually researcher access. It's actually a tool to give us information about what's happening online. That's in just sharp contrast to the kind of issues that we're seeing in this country, which are very much focused on criticism and content.
Yeah, I think my colleague, Ms. Jayapal, talked about the fact that we had a very robust investigation of big tech in prior Congresses, which has kind of been shut down by a new alliance between big tech and the Republican Party. But it is about dealing with the real issues and the very real power that these big tech platforms have and trying to provide tools for ordinary citizens to fight back against disinformation or harmful content. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about one tool that the DSA offers, it's this assurance that individuals will be able to challenge, to appeal content moderation decisions. That is not something that is allowed or mandated by law in the United States. One other thing just to mention in this connection, I think Mr. Farage mentioned, and it's really just to highlight how hard some of these questions might be. Mr. Farage has suggested the possibility that hardware could be part of a solution to deal with children's access to harmful information. I think there's something possibly there, but it's another form of censorship. I think we should just recognize that restrictions are on the table in the United States, in the UK, elsewhere. I think the Europeans adopted an approach that makes quite a bit of sense.
Trying to get to as many members as possible. Gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized. Mr. Frost has to leave in a few minutes, so we want to get as many members as possible.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
He deliberately cut him off.
Mr. Chairman, just before I begin, to my friend, he's not here now, Mr. Moskowitz from Florida, there's kind of an old trick in debating. When you're losing the debate on the issue, you change the issue. This is not about Epstein. It has nothing to do with that. And as the chairman so correctly said, the Attorney General is going to...
And they were not talking about Epstein. They were talking about freedom of speech. They were talking about the DSA, and they were talking about what could be done about it. And now you are changing the subject back to another thing in order to do it. So you are doing what you said other people were doing. This is sophism.
be here, the FBI director is going to be here, and we can talk about it till the cows come home. Second thing is, I believe it was you, Mr. Farage, that said COVID changed our world, and in many ways, more than just a biological disease, what it did to us psychologically, governmentally, philosophically was really bad, and we're still not out of it yet because of what happened then. We're losing our freedoms. We are losing our freedoms, and it's not because of an American Congress. It's not because of American courts. It's not because of American Republicans, and I'm going to even say it's not because of American Democrats. It is due to bureaucrats in Brussels.
Are you stupid? Do you have any kind of mental issue? We are creating laws in the EU to apply to EU. American companies, you want to work here? Fine. Obey the rules. That is not going to change. Because the day it changes, your companies stop working in Europe. And your government is the greatest attack on your democracy.
And in London, and in other places as well. It's wrong. It's un-American. I am unabashedly, and I think we all are here, hopefully, pro-American. We should be protecting our citizens. Instead, we're watching foreign bureaucrats come to our country and try to force United States companies to
no one is
humor,
going to your country.
satire, and news they don't like. It's backwards,
you can
it's
publish
bizarre,
whatever the
it's
hell
perverse,
you want in your country.
And it's weird. That's what we would call it in New Jersey. It's just weird, and it's not
yes,
good.
you are weird. Yes,
It's the opposite of everything that the United States of America fought for and stands for. And it's a globalist mindset. You know, we can all talk about the issues, but I'm going to keep talking about globalism versus American exceptionalism.
We don't care about whatever you do in your country.
I believe very much, sincerely, that the whole battle that's going on now with the right and the left, what's happening in Great Britain, what's happening around the world,
no one
what's
gives
happening
a
in the
hell
United
what
States,
you're saying.
is very much that argument.
These are laws applied to our country.
In our case here in the States, Americanism, exceptionalism, or is it globalism? And like the EU's Digital Service Act and the UK's Online Safety Act are the pinnacle examples, and they are, of how upside down things have gotten in the effort to globalize our society. And that is the ultimate showdown. It is resulting in our losing of our freedom, losing our influence, and the only winner.
How does, in Europe, saying this, whatever is on the online in our countries, in Europe, any content that is available in Europe, from whatever companies from the United States, from companies from China, from companies from Europe, from companies from Mars, has to be according to these laws. Are we saying Americans cannot watch whatever crap they want on their devices, originated in their country or published in their country? No one cares. These laws are to be applied to Europe, my friend, or in the case of the UK, to the UK. No one for example, in Europe, no one is complaining about the laws in the UK. And in the UK, the only people that are still trying to have an influence over Europe that they don't have are people like Mr. Farage. And they are the ones that are also crying the EU is punishing us when the EU applies laws. And now, you, my friend, you are doing exactly the same thing. Do you think I care that you go into libraries and that you remove a certain number of books and yet you ban them? I do not care. Do whatever you have. You want to marry your cousins? Marry your cousins. I don't care.
Here are some countries in
This
Europe,
is beyond belief.
Russia, China, and others.
This is beyond
Europe is
belief.
spending their time attacking American tech companies,
No
dictating
one
how our
gives a crap
platforms
about
operate,
American
how our
speech.
technology operates, and punishing people for exhibiting free speech. The European model, I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but it is wrong. We fought a revolution to defend ourselves. Men and women pledged their lives, their treasure, their sacred honor.
My great-grandfather lost an eye fighting a revolution. On the side of the ones that lost, and that then was subjected to the dictatorship. You know nothing of what sacrifice is. Nothing. You are all a bunch of entitled, pompous, ignorant, incompetent Americans. That is what I have been seeing in this. We are currently at 2.36.10 in time, and that is almost 70% of what I saw. Incompetence.
That they wouldn't have to go through this. And we never thought that Americans would be stripped of that. That's why this moment is so serious. It's more serious than most Americans and people realize right now. And you know, for generations, we thought if we were ever attacked, it was going to be a nuclear holocaust. We thought it was going to be the domino theory. We thought it was going to be world wars. We thought it was so many things. I maintain it's this. If we lose our First Amendment rights and our freedom of speech, we have lost everything and nothing else matters. And internet technology is being used as a vehicle to make this happen. So I have a question for Mr. Farage and Mr. Price. This hearing is really good, and I'm sure we're going to have some other hearings. But more than hearings and talking about it, what is it tangibly, this is a hard question, that we can do to stop it? What is it? Mr. Farage, I'll start with you.
The debate we've had here, I mean, nobody here from any side of the debate has told me that the Online Safety Act is a wonderful piece of legislation. You know, right across the spectrum here, you're having your own internal debates about free speech in America, right, healthy, and what this committee is for. I want to make this argument. Yeah, I know these companies are very big and very powerful, many of the tech firms, but, you know, governments talk to each other, yeah? And it needs the American administration and businesses to have an honest conversation. Brussels, you won't get a hearing. They are fundamentally anti-American, frankly, and I was there for 20 years. I saw it. I do think there is a...
Brussels is fundamentally anti-American. Really, Mr. Farage? Okay. Okay. Folks, you heard them, right? This way. You heard them, right?
Conversation to be had with the British government about the shape of their legislation and the impact it can have on American individuals, their liberty, and American companies. So I am calling for, as a result of what's happened, it's clearly got the legislation's clearly doing the wrong thing. I think it is cause for proper intergovernmental debate.
I hope that we have it. And by the way, we have censorship in America. Watch ABC, NBC, and CBS. I'm at the meetings. I'm at a discussion. I see and hear what happens. I watch, my wife has Channel 6 on, which drives me nuts at home, and it has nothing to do with the damn stuff that actually happened. And that's the truth. We have it already, and I pray to God we don't lose America. Mr. Chairman, indulgence, and I'll shut up. Mr. Price didn't get a chance.
Quickly. Yes, sir. You talked about putting pressure on, and I agree that Brussels is a cold house for free speech. But a lot of the regulation is actually happening in my own country, in Ireland, in Dublin, where a lot of the tech companies are headquartered, their European headquarters. And it's the Irish Media Commission, or Commission na Meán in the Irish language, which is the ground zero, really, for a lot of this regulation. And here's where I think the US can do a lot, because they're strong bilateral.
You idiot. So now you're telling the Americans go put pressure on the Irish. Divide and conquer, right, my friend? Because, bottom line, this is what you are trying to do. And this is the reason why I, amongst other Europeans, are saying, just cut them off. Cut them out. Tell them to go preach to their own land. If you don't understand what is this that I'm saying,
bilateral relationships between Ireland and the United States is to put pressure on the Irish government to stop the bullying of tech companies. And already X is in the Irish Supreme Court soon against the Irish Media Commissioner. So they're already starting the crackdown. So I would hope that you use your good offices here to put pressure on the Irish.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Gentleman is recognized.
Why is the witness leaving this hearing early, and certainly without?
He has an
any-
engagement he told us about. This is not unusual. It's happened before under Democrat leadership of the committee, under Republican leadership of the committee. We're trying to get through as many people as we can. You've had many of your witnesses who did not ask Mr. Farage a question. Many of your colleagues, if you could have coordinated with them, you didn't go in order. We didn't necessarily go in orders because we wanted to get as many people up front asking Mr. Farage questions.
Could we ask him if he would be willing to stay for?
It was totally up to the witness, but if the witness has to go somewhere, I understand. We were glad that he came. We were glad that we had a chance to visit with him in Europe. So you could have went on that trip and had a chance to interact with him.
I wasn't invited, but next time.
No, you were definitely invited. Everyone was invited from the Democrat side. The whole committee was.
folks, let me just focus on me. Folks, I am completely unable to continue to watch this and to watch this publicly, watching and recording, because I have watched it before. Okay, but I'm now at 2 hours and 40 minutes of this. The total amount of this is 4 hours, 45 minutes and 50 seconds. So what I'm going to do is this. Right now, I am going to stop my comment on this, and then I am going to record this, the rest of it, and put it in another video. Okay, so I'm going to basically put on 2 videos. This one, and then another containing the rest, so that you can watch if you are able to do it. Because this has been an incredible mental stress on me, because I never heard so much self-entitlement, so much lack of professionalism, so many lies, so many omissions, so many narratives, and I don't want to run the risk of committing a crime myself. Reason why I will abstain myself from any more comments. I'm just going to end this video as it is. I'm going to publish it, and at the same time I'm also going to publish the other half of the video, because I am physically unable to continue this. I am feeling physically nauseated. I am not kidding. I am feeling nauseated. I feel like I'm going to puke, because I cannot stand to be here and to take this. I'm a very strong person emotionally. I'm a very strong person physically, but I cannot withstand this. This is too stupid for me. This has nothing to do with the political debates that I have seen here in Europe and in many countries. This has nothing to do with it. Nothing. Nothing. This is a parade of horrors. These people are talking about fabricated realities. These people are talking about things that don't exist. These people are talking about global implications of a decision taken by sovereign countries across the world. The EU, the Commission and the Parliament, they are not legislating on American citizens. They are just saying, this is our space of our countries. And if you want to work here, Here are the rules. Simple as that. Either adapt, either comply, or leave. Our companies that go into the United States, they are following your rules. This entire discussion, all of it is this. The United Kingdom has a set of rules. It's their market. It's their country. It's their space. Online, the same. The EU, the same thing. If our rules disturb American companies, then American companies don't come here. Simply don't come here. If you want to come here, follow the rules. Just like the soda companies and all of those American companies that work here, including car companies. You follow the rules, you can produce here and sell your stuff. You don't follow the rules. No. Mi casa. Do you understand that concept of mi casa, my rules? And look, I cannot continue with this, okay? I'm going to have to do some talk about some other stuff. After this, I'm going to make another video because I cannot stand this, and I'm just going to end it here. Put the rest in a separate segment, and be done with it. Because this is simply too much. This is simply too much to bear. I was trying to soldier on, as I said in my previous video and in my previous post. I was trying to soldier on. I was trying to do this, but it's simply impossible because the amount of muck, of mud slinging, of self-entitlement, of false truth, of half-truths, of omissions is so great that I cannot withstand it. Reason why, folks, I am very sorry for not being able to do this, but I cannot do it. So I'm going to end this video now. Thank you all for watching it. And then I'm going to put just a post just to speak about this again, just to say this, to be short and sweet. And then I'm going to publish the rest in a separate video. And that is it. I'm tired of it. Sorry, but I'm tired of it. Thank you all for your patience. Again, I am sorry, and I hope to see you all in the next one.